and welcome to another episode of the Classic Chloe Show, where we talk about music and its effects on every aspect of our daily lives. I'm your host, Chloe Castillo, and I have another fantastic guest for you today. Frank Torchia is the founder of Torch Entertainment, a renowned production company founded in 2008. Recently, Mr. Torchia produced several award-winning documentaries, including the Relentless Patriot and The Man You Don't Know About President Trump. Mr. Torchia also recently authored a top-selling book about teenage heroin addiction called Love Letters to Amber, based on the true story of his daughter. An absolutely beautiful story, very touching. It was a beautiful read. Frank, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Hey, nice to be on your show, Chloe. Excited to talk to you.
Absolutely. So let's dive right in here. Frank, like I just mentioned a minute ago, he has quite a lot of experience in the film industry and fantastic documentaries. I actually saw one of his documentaries at Mar-a-Lago last year, The Relentless Patriot, about Scott LeBedo, and it was really, really well done. Great film. And so I want to talk to Frank about his experience in the industry because something I bring up a lot is, I talk about music and talk about how it affects every aspect of our lives. And I feel like as conservatives, something we don't really talk about much is the need for entertainment to be, controlled by more than just the left. Because right now they have quite a grasp on the entertainment industry on the whole. I want to get Frank, what's your opinion on that? What have you experienced firsthand as someone in the industry? What have you seen as far as the left's domination of entertainment?
Yeah, it's evolved over the years. It's been an interesting journey since I got involved in this crazy business of entertainment. It used to be you could tell really cool stories, regardless if you were a Democrat, Republican, conservative, or liberal. The last 10 years or so, since President Trump, it's really been a weird experience that the left is will demonize the conservative movement. And even just not only the storytellers, it is also the crew. So the people behind the cameras. If you got a different point of view, I have people that I've worked with that they lose their jobs or they don't get hired because they have a different, they don't have that group think. Um, but I'm in a unique world in a unique position today. I just like to tell cool stories, and I want everyone to watch what we do, right? So, we had a really good year last year. Obviously the Relentless Patriot about Scott LeBedo, who's a really charismatic, interesting character, and then The Man You Don't Know. It really wasn't a political documentary. It was kind of behind the scenes story to tell who Donald Trump actually is. Not the media myth that gets portrayed all the time. Um, and so that's kind of what we try to do in regards to the storytelling. But it's fascinating that the corporate entertainment media styles are just letting it's hard for them to let go. You either think the way they think, or your shows don't get greenlit, your movies don't get released. We saw a little bit about that on some of our projects. Uh, but I think there's a change happening now. I think the President Trump's reelection is kind of doing a reset because I think the left went way too far, and I think that's where I see some hope.
Well, I think a lot of people have noticed that it's absolutely ridiculous to the extent that the left has pushed it, like you just said. It's gotten to the point where if you want to just turn on a good movie these days, not even something political, just something good, just something that the family can enjoy, you're completely bombarded with leftism and wokeism, and it's like, how do you even watch a good movie these days? The same goes for music, of course. You try to turn on the radio, and it's like, oh, yay, we get to hear about, Cardi B and WAP, or you get that's kind of old news right now, but we get to hear about all that loveliness, and it's like, what happened to our culture? And the left has pushed it to the point where they have I hope in a way that they've actually reached the extreme so that we can actually start seeing the pendulum swinging back towards normalcy and reality and common sense. And Donald Trump just said a few days ago, I believe it was, about the Kennedy Center. He mentioned in his statement regarding that, it's the golden age of art and culture in America is his vision. And I really have a lot of hope for that, having a president and having an administration that wants to back a golden age in art and culture. And so I'm very hopeful as well. What would you say um what would you say has been the biggest pushback that you've received on anything you've tried to create, just because you are, I wouldn't even say super outspoken, but you've participated in projects that involve Donald Trump or that involve conservative thought? Have you received a lot of pushback on just normal content that doesn't have anything to do with politics?
They're really covert about it. They're not overt. So they won't come out and blatantly say it, but you'll have a great project. Everyone loves it, but they'll pass on it with no explanation. Timing's not right. They'll give you whatever excuses you have. Um, so that I've experienced that where we think we have a great show, documentary, or film, and for whatever reason, that they end up passing on it. And you see some of the stuff that they actually are putting on TV, and you're like, why? And no one's watching it either. You look at the ratings. It's kind of my business. You got to look at the ratings, and some of these shows are not even registering, and they're getting renewed, and it's really bizarre. uh, but like I said, I've been fortunate. We do content that's not so political. And like I said, we've had two political projects last year with The Relentless Patriot and The Man You Don't Know. Uh, but most of the stuff I try to do, I love music. So we had a music memorabilia show called Rock and Roll Rarities with Matt Pinfield that was really successful. I love food. We've had food shows. I love cars. We've had car shows. I love a good glass of wine. We have some shows on wine. So we try to kind of do stuff like that. And so that's kind of my experience is that it, it like I was saying before, I've had a lot of friends it's called the below the line. So the guys and gals behind the camera, the crew that if they don't think like everybody else, they don't get hired. And a lot of times they get canceled. You can't even speak out. It's that is the sad part because this is how people put food on their table, and they're really quality people, and they'll get shut out from jobs just because they don't think like the producers or the studios want them to think. And these are just crew members. These are just camera guys, sound guys, the engineers, the lightings, the gaffers, the grips, the makeup people. That to me is the offensive part. I'm a big boy. I can take rejection, and we can push our own stuff. But for me, it's the crew. Same thing for music. You're talking about music. Yeah, I love music. Like I said, I grew up in the '70s and '80s, which is kind of my genre. And just hearing some of the music today, as kids, you listen to music, right? And you kind of relate to that. And, some of the movie soundtracks are just, you listen to the words and you're like, oh my gosh, this is what like 5 and 6 year old kids are listening to. And they're regurgitating those words as they're just, listening to the words over and over again. And that's bothersome.
Absolutely. I'm really glad you brought up the kids and the youth too. It's very bothersome, and that's one reason I actually got involved as much as I have been recently because of the youth. I'm a young person myself, but I wasn't raised on that kind of music. I was raised on Frank Sinatra. You can see him behind me when the goes full screen. Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and the Rat Pack and those great artists, and then of course classical music. I was trained a classical pianist when I was 4. I mean, that was my upbringing as far as music went. And so when I was about 14 or so, I got a phone for the first time, got social media, and I was exposed to the culture that was what I learned to be mainstream and what the culture was that my generation and even younger than myself was consuming. And it was extremely disturbing because not just to be prude or to be, oh, that's inappropriate, but it's clearly having an effect on our society and the trajectory that our country is headed. And it was extremely concerning as someone who was just planning to go to music school, have a career in piano performance, get married, have kids, and raise a family. I was like, wait a minute, this isn't as simple as I thought. This whole culture is incredibly destructive. It's not going to be one that I want my kids to be engaging in as just the normal, as I don't want them to see this as normal. I don't want them to say, hey, where's something else that I can listen to that isn't from 40 or 50, 60 years ago? Where's the new stuff that's actually good and that actually contribute something beneficial to our culture and to our society. And honestly, it's a lot of times just not there. And the music that is there, it comes from our side and it's being suppressed even by ourselves, I would say. It's being suppressed by the left, and then the conservative right refuses to acknowledge its existence, and they refuse to acknowledge, or rather to support what actually is being created. So it's refreshing to hear you say that you actually, share that concern for the youth and for the young people who are consuming this, disgusting culture that's being provided to us. So, you wrote a beautiful book, Love Letters to Amber, about your daughter's struggle with addiction. And I just finished it the other day. It's a very touching story. And um, you know, that whole culture that she was swept into, I would say, in school and in, you know, getting wrapped up with the wrong crowd, maybe while she was having some personal struggles that really, you know, I guess those kind of people and that kind of culture really just tapped into her feelings and she went down that route. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's kind of, you know, how I
Yeah.
portray that. And I would imagine that so many others who were struggling with something very similar, especially young people. I mean, how old was she in the book? I mean, a young teenager, right?
14. Yeah, she was 14.
Okay, so I mean, so incredibly young, and I mean, incredible just to imagine that someone that young can get that wrapped up in something that destructive. And so I want to just point out so many other young people like that who are going through those same kind of struggles, who are getting up mixed up in that kind of mess, you know, the culture that they're then presented with does nothing but affirm that and does nothing but celebrate that lifestyle and promote it as something that is good and that should be that, you know, oh, if you're against that then you're just prude and you're just, you know, a conservative and you're boring and whatever. So as someone who has actually seen that lifestyle in, you know, in full steam ahead in your daughter's life, and thank God she recovered from that. I mean, God bless her for that struggle and for actually overcoming that. What would you say to, you know, the people who say, "Oh, well, it's just music's just entertainment, it's just culture." Do you think that kind of music actually really I guess I'm at a loss for words here. I guess that would you say that kind of music actually um contributes at all to these people's lifestyle when they get mixed up in that kind of crowd? Do you think that that music and that culture and that entertainment has any kind of play in their lives?
Well, again, I am a huge music fan. I grew up like you, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin. I saw Frank Sinatra in concert. Um, then my dad had the, you know, a little older than you, so my dad had the 8-track tape player in his car, and then I grew up around, you know, with Led Zeppelin and the Who and the Beatles. I love Elvis. I listen to some of the new stuff out there, but I mean, even think of, you know, the Bon Jovis and the Bruce Springsteens that are these superstars. It is a different world today, and yes, it music like I can hear a song, Chloe, from 20, 30 years ago, and it'll bring me back to that moment. And I think that's the power of music. It could have a positive influence on people, but it also have the negative influence. So that same positive moment I can have in reflecting on whatever song it was, whether I was dating, whether I was driving a car, whether I was playing football, whatever it might be, it'll bring back a real positive moment. But then if with some of these negative songs and destructive songs, as you mentioned, uh, if someone's in recovery or someone's struggling, that song could it actually trigger them to have another negative impact. And so, you know, you think of, you know, the old hip hops and I mean, just listen to the words. It's, you know, I can listen to a Frank Sinatra song and not and be fine. But you hear some of these, you know, kill this, sleep with that, beat her, kick her, and those are the things that I think kids are listening to. And even kids, like the younger kids who are listening to some of this music, like I was saying before, they don't even know what they're saying. They're just regurgitating the words that they're hearing over and over again, and it's embedding in their head. And you know, some of the provocative stuff. Again, I'm not a prude either. You know, you can be not a prude and still enjoy and appreciate good music. Um, but I find that challenge today. And then you talked about social media and some of the things that the kids are exposed to in that, and the sexuality and then they, you know, the social impact of how many likes you're getting, and if you disagree with it is a different world. And it's really hard, and I commend you as a young woman in music, trying to make a difference, being a great influencer, and trying to have a positive impact. I think we need more Chloes rather than more Franks, because you are the people, you're the individuals that these young people are going to be looking up to. They don't care about some 50-year-old who loves the New York Yankees and listens to Led Zeppelin and makes films here and there. They're looking at you and the positive influence that you have. Again, not that you're coming across as a prude, but the positive, powerful message I think is absolutely missing. And And the real talk that you have, as I listen to your podcast as well, and the great job that you do, uh, not that you're the cutting edge, the female Joe Rogan, but you have conversations, and so and you come in with an inquisitive mind to listen and learn, kind of like a Joe Rogan. He comes in with no opinion. He just wants to get that, have a conversation with someone, and learn and get some input. And I think I see that what you're doing is such a powerful influence that you're having and you're going to have. And I'm excited to help share my story on what my daughter went through addiction. Yeah, she's 14 years old. And as a parent, there's two perspectives, right? So you have the person who's going through addiction, my daughter, who felt helpless, hopeless, and alone. And me as the parent, I felt guilty, embarrassed, and ashamed. And you put all those emotions together, typically you have a bad outcome. And we were fortunate that I sent my daughter to Teen Challenge, a national faith-based organization that helps teens struggling with addiction. And they saved her life. And hence the name of the book. While she was there, I wrote her a love letter every day.
Thank you, Frank. I really, really, truly appreciate your encouragement and your support of all of this is going on, and what I have been speaking out about. I really, truly appreciate someone like you actually seeing the importance of actually, talking about this kind of stuff. And I appreciate you also sharing your story and shouting it from the rooftops, because it is incredibly important. And as somebody who experienced that firsthand, like you said, those like the ruts in your mind from that kind of music. I mean, music is incredibly powerful. And like you were saying, it takes you back to, maybe a first date or driving your car or whatever you're doing. It has the power to bring you back into those situations, or to glorify certain situations, and give it something about it. I'm sure there's a chemical, something going on here. I'm totally not well versed in that at all, if that's even a thing. But I would imagine there's something that goes on in the mind, that makes your brain and your soul have a certain reaction to certain sounds and certain music and certain songs. And so, imagining this kind of music that's being just totally pushed on the youth, such young people who are hearing about, beating your girlfriend, or, doing these drugs, doing those drugs, and it's just cool, and it's just that, and it's just, you go kill someone over here, and that one died over there, and whoop-de-doo, and it's just kind of it normalizes it in our society, and it glorifies it, and this isn't a new thing that's been going on, but it is new that it's become so incredibly mainstream for the youngest of the youth, and that just absolutely breaks my heart. So I appreciate you, and your understanding of that, and really recognizing that that truly does have an impact, and being able to tell your story of, those kind of paths are not one you want to venture down in the least. And for the youth to actually, maybe have something as an alternative that isn't that kind of, trash music and trash entertainment. We need something as conservatives. I feel like it's kind of our duty in a way to understand the harms and the damage that can happen through this kind of music and this kind of culture that's, normalizing these kind of actions in the youth. And instead of just saying, oh, this is bad and this shouldn't happen, and the left and Hollywood are wrong for doing that, instead we need to actually, as creators and as artists ourselves, create something better than, and create something that can actually be brought into the forefront of our culture, where we can actually celebrate music that really empowers people to have good lifestyles, and lifestyles that are going to be crucial for a society that's, functioning, and then America that's actually, prosperous again. And so I think that's incredibly important. Let's take a quick ad break here, and we'll come back with some more from Frank. I love his story. I love what he's doing in the industry. So let's do a quick ad break, and we'll come back with some more questions for Frank.
When things go sideways, will you be ready? Meet the new Patriot Power Generator 1200, a solar generator that's lightweight with more capacity and more life cycles, and recharges twice as fast, all at a fraction of the price. In a blackout, power lights, TVs, medical equipment, even your fridge. No gas, fumes, or noise. It's safe to use inside your home. This is about peace of mind. To learn more about this amazing generator and get your free solar panel, go to Patriot TV store and look for the solar generator banner.
Frank, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for being here and for telling your story and for talking about all of this music and entertainment with me. So, let's kind of talk about, let's change gears a little bit and discuss the golden age of art and culture in America. Like I mentioned earlier, our great president mentioned that in one of his posts a few days ago, and I was incredibly encouraged hearing him bring that up. So, what are your thoughts on the golden age of art and culture in America? What do you hope to see conservative artists bring forward to make this, I guess, the best time possible that we can in our country and to help make America great again through the culture? What do you hope to see happen there?
I was just thinking about that as we were on break. And so if you go back to the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, you think of Clark Gable, you think of Humphrey Bogart, you think of, Katharine Hepburn, and you see men actually being men, right? And unfortunately, over the last 20 years, you see the left, these Democrats, these that are trying to basically feminize men, and I think that is a negative impact that is corroding our youth, and has corroded, and it's ruined a generation. And I like what Mark Wahlberg's doing. I like John Voight. I like Mel Gibson. These are men who are masculine and having that masculinity to inspire young men to be masculine. And we don't need feminine men. We need masculine men. Uh, like Pete Hegseth, who's the new Secretary of Defense, who's actually going running and training with the troops, because he's a fit, energetic guy. We have more people signing up for the Army in the last since Trump took office than in the last 20 years. So I see, and the same thing with music. You think of Frank Sinatra, we were talking about Dean Martin. These were masculine men that women wanted to be with and men wanted to be. And I think, even Elvis, and you think of some of these arts and entertainments over the years, and what are we looking at now? We went from Boy George, and you got Sam Stone, who I don't even know. I saw something about. There's these people. I think are I think it's bad. I think they're actually infecting our youth. And so I believe what we need is, I think we need a renaissance of masculine men, masculine singers. I like Harry Connick Jr. I think he comes across as spectacular. I like Blake Shelton. You look at some of these country stars that are actually portraying as strong men, and so that's where I think we need to do is get back to having men be masculine and have women be feminine.
Absolutely. And I think you put it very well a minute ago, saying that these people and these artists have infected the youth and they've infected our society for that matter. And so I think, I mean, that couldn't have been said more accurately. And I think that one thing we can do, like you said, in entertainment is to, we need a resurgence of masculinity and we need a resurgence of femininity in the right places. And I think that in Hollywood and in the music industry, I for one hope to see. I mean, I listen to artists these days, and I've done like a collage a couple times just on my phone, looked at like, Harry Styles holding up the pride flag in his dress or whatever he's doing, and, versus Frank Sinatra in his prime. And it's like, what has happened to our entertainers? It's sad to see.
I
So,
I'm
so I,
so in agreement with you. That is, how did this evolve into this? I don't understand. I just don't. I don't get it. So I am encouraged by young women like you. Like I said, Kid Rock obviously is a great singer and a strong masculine guy who's now who's an outspoken and advocate for President Trump. I like Blake Shelton. I think he's a great message. He's a masculine man like I said, I think young men need a masculine uh, person as a figure, and I think you are a great role model for young women who are coming up to have a role model for femininity and beauty and culture and speaking your mind. And I think you encompass all of those traits that I see that's needed out there. And so I give you a light tennis clap for all the hard work and success you're doing.
I truly do appreciate you saying that, Frank, and it does mean the world to me to hear that from someone like yourself. It's my hope. I think for the next generations and for these and for my generation as well, in art and entertainment, to really start to embody the things you just mentioned. Beauty and persistence, and a lot of those things. I really do hope that. In this golden age of art and culture, we will have so many young people. You mentioned Kid Rock too. Um, an American who's been extremely supportive of our great president, and I think that's incredibly important. However, I think that really encouraging the youth and the next generations to become those great artists that support from the beginning of their career, greatness in America is incredibly important. And so, Frank, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Really great discussion. I really enjoyed it with you. And so, let's just please share with my audience where they can find you, and also what are you up to on your next projects? What do you have in the works?
Yeah, you can. I'm on LinkedIn, Frank Torchia at LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram, Torchia Frank. You can find me on Facebook. Um, we just finished a project with the San Diego Zoo called the Frozen Zoo. They're doing amazing things. They're helping the animals that at risk and potentially extinct animals. So that's a project we just finished. It'll be on Discovery Channel soon. Be down in Miami this weekend. We're doing another fun show, car show, kind of car show meets Mission Impossible kind of fun show with a fun group of people down in Miami. And so we have a new cooking show that we're going to be putting on air on the Food Network with Gino DeCampa, funny Italian chef from Italy. It's going to be called Eat Yourself Italian, talking about ingredients. RFK Jr. has inspired me. I can't go to the grocery store without looking at the back of ingredients, even bread. Bread is 4 ingredients: water, salt, yeast, and flour. And you go buy a loaf of bread, they got 30 ingredients. And so he has inspired me. And so we're doing a show called Eat Yourself Italian, because you can eat in Italy and all the ingredients and all the food and you stay thin, but you eat here in America and you eat the same food and you gain 30 pounds. And there's a lot of poison in American food. And so that is something that has inspired me. And again, I love food. I'm a proud Italian. So we've got a new show called Eat Yourself Italian with Gino DeCampo that's coming up soon. And so, yeah, those are the things that I like to do. And I appreciate you giving me the platform to share some of the stuff that we've done, some of the stuff that we're doing. We are doing a movie about Love Letters to Amber with John Voight and Kevin Sorbo. We're hopefully to do some before the end of the year. And we're also working on trying to have a great epic soundtrack, because I think soundtracks in movies are like the Saturday Night Fevers and the Big Chill, where you hear a song and you remember that movie.
Wonderful, Frank. So many amazing things in store coming from your end over there. I gotta say about making America healthy again. I would love nothing more than to see Americans' food just become Italian, all Italian. I'm all for it. Just straight Italian from Italy. That would be my dream. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on, Frank. I really hope to see this movie from about Amber coming out soon too, because that was a beautiful story. I'd love to see it in film. And yes, a great soundtrack would make it absolutely outstanding. So, Frank, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story. Thank you so much for taking the time to have this discussion with me. I truly appreciate you. I truly appreciate everything you're doing for entertainment and for the industry and just for America on the whole. So, Frank, great to have you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Chloe. Thank you for having me. Talk soon. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. Please subscribe to the Classic Chloe Show on Rumble, YouTube, and Spotify to stay up to date on the latest episodes. Please also please also follow me at classically_Chloe on Instagram and all other platforms. Have a great week. God bless.